Hi guys and welcome back to World of Tanks, and it's another World of Fail time. Yeah, it's come around again, 2 weeks. It doesn't seem to take that long. In fact, I wasn't even sure that it was 2 weeks ago I did the last one, so I had to check, but it was. So yeah, here we are again, and just a quick mention to my video from earlier. You know, it's fantastic, the amount of the comments and the support that you guys have got is really good, and yeah, I'm really touched by that, so thank you very much. I have read through nearly all the comments on it. I think I might have missed the latest couple there, and I'm just trying to reply to everybody when I get a chance, but hopefully by tomorrow, or yeah, hopefully by tomorrow afternoon I should have replied to you all. So yeah, thank you again. And just a quick one, as some of you have said, and I don't know if I said it earlier as well, for those of you that are suffering with, you know, with something similar or going through, you know, similar things, just don't forget sorry, yeah, don't forget that you're not on your own, and there are a lot of people going through similar or the same things, and you know, it's important to have somebody to talk to. And if you don't have that, you can always talk to me. Send me a message. I think you can message me privately through my YouTube channel or through Facebook. So yeah, if you don't have anybody to talk to, or you feel you don't want to talk to somebody that you know, because sometimes it's a bit easier to talk to a stranger, just drop me a message and I'll try my best to help you if I can. Anyway, back to tonight's video. Yeah, World of Fail. I'm in the Czech Tier 5. Yeah, the Skoda T24. Not overly taken by this tank at the moment. I quite liked, I don't know if it was the tier, I want to say the tier 3 that I think had an auto loader for its top gun, which was actually quite good fun. It was quite a fun little tank, and the Czech line, it feels like they are very much support mediums. That's the impression I get. They're not particularly well armoured. Some of them do have decent guns on them from what I can see. I've not had a sort of proper look, I've only had a bit of a glance. But they do definitely seem to be more support tanks, which is why you should not go down a flank on your own, like I just did there, because that will happen to you, unfortunately. Anyway, next match, Tier 10. I'm out in my Chieftain. I've not taken this out for... well, I don't take it out very often, actually. Not as often as I should going to Tier 10s. And I think I'll probably play a lot more Tier 10 when I've sort of got to a point where I've unlocked most of the Tier 10s that I'd like to unlock and play. Do you see what I mean? Sort of grinding through a few others. I would like to get to the mouse just to try it out, because, you know, the mouse is kind of legendary, even though it was never actually made. The E100 looks as though it could be good fun for a heavy tanker, but I think before the E100 I'm definitely wanting to get the 121, the Chinese Tier 10 medium, and definitely one of the Soviet mediums, one of the top tiers, possibly the T62A, but I've still not made my mind up on that one. And I would actually like to get to the E50M as well, and I think I'm going to have to rebuy the Panther 2 and finish that grind off soon. But yeah, here we are in the Chieftain, and this World of Fail, I don't think there are many short clips on this one. I know sometimes I have a couple of long ones and a lot of short clips, and these are all fairly lengthy clips. For my fail video anyway, they're normally a bit shorter than this, and that's what I've been playing in. There's a couple in the Skoda T24, or Skoda, if that's how you pronounce it properly. And, you know, I think there's a couple in the Fatherland, and it's just because that's what I've been playing a lot of, obviously, with, you know, doing reviews, trying to get up certain lines, you know, just giving myself a bit of a heave up it, sort of ground through the Czech line up to about Tier 5 and now take it steady, and that's something I've tended to do when these new lines have come on, sort of hammer through the first few tiers and then take it steady and sort of grind my way through them. But here we are. And I don't know, I was a bit surprised actually that not many tanks, or not more tanks from our team came down this way. And the Chieftain, it's got a great gun, it's got a very strong turret, but its hull is not particularly good. Its upper glacis it's not very thick, but it's very, very well sloped. The lower glacis is garbage, and it's just how it is, and it's got a great big ammo rack behind it as well. There you go, ammo rack damaged. That was very, very good timing. And its ground resistances aren't particularly good either, and it feels quite sluggish, especially compared to the FV201, which has better ground resistances and it just feels a bit nippier. I mean, when this gets going, it's not too bad, but yeah, it definitely feels a bit sluggish off the mark. But like I say, great turret, great gun, fantastic aiming time. Unfortunately, I've just got hammered though. I went too far forward in it, basically. It's a support tank. Definitely a support heavy. But yeah, fantastic aiming time, fantastic reload and everything else. But yeah, definitely a support tank. Anyway, here's I think the first of the Fatherland ones. If I did indeed leave 2 on, I might have only left 1 on. The last match, the good match, is actually a Fatherland match as well, though. With me, well, for those of you that saw my other video, I said I'd not been on this really over the weekend at all, so I did have the Fatherland Ace op to finish off. So, been in it a couple of times today, and that's why I've got a Fatherland video for you. And I hope those of you that have been going for the Fatherland have actually managed to get it. I didn't get a chance earlier to talk about the op in the video, but I will try and talk about it a little bit, possibly during the last replay of this where I've got a bit more time. Anyway, I've come into the town. It seemed to be the right play. I think I'm top tier, if I remember, from the team list. And this was one of the first games I played in this, actually. And yeah, I thought, you know, going to the city, that's the right place to take something like this. It's very, very good at side scraping. And, well, the tank's good at side scraping. I'm not so good at that sometimes. I think 9 times out of 10 I get it right. It's just that 10th time where I don't get the angle quite right. I am actually platooned up with my wife. I cannot remember what she was in. I want to say it could be the Carnarvon or it could be the CDC. Do you know, I can't actually remember. In fact, she's in a heavy, so I would imagine it was the Carnarvon that she was actually in. So she's headed up towards the other end, towards the village, to basically perform that supporting role, which is, you know, what the Carnarvon is. And like I say, I came into the town. I've placed myself here. It seemed to be a decent location. There were enemy tanks coming along that way. But I'm just having problems with, well, dealing with this IS-6. He's angled himself quite well. The IS-6 does have very well angled armour anyway. And the downside to APCR, and I think I might have mentioned this, I don't know if I did mention it in the Fatherland review. I definitely meant to if I didn't. But yeah, the downside to APCR, or one of the downsides to it, because it does have its benefit, you know, its ups and downs, is that it does get reduced normalisation against angled armour. Now, normalisation, I'll try and simplify it. It's basically the amount the tip of the shell would dig into the armour, and either then sort of, you know, it might dig in a little bit and either, you know, ding off. Oops, I took a bit of a risk there. Oh dear. And yeah, the 112 has managed to get around behind me because my map awareness went out the window and I failed to notice that, well, everything to the sort of left side of me died. So yeah, that was me stuffed. But yeah, normalisation, the amount the tip digs in before it either penetrates or, you know, ricochets. And armour piercing get a 5-degree normalisation, and APCR only gets a 2-degree normalisation. And what that would mean, effectively, say the armour was at an angle of 60 degrees, AP would treat it as though it was an angle of 55 degrees. So obviously, you know, the angle increases effective thickness. There you go. So that's why sometimes any of you who've got the Fatherland or any other tank that does fire APCR, sometimes you will find yourself shooting at something that with a tank that, you know, I mean, like with the IS-3 for example, the BL9 uses armour piercing, and I've found myself shooting at stuff in the Fatherland that I would pen quite easily in the IS-3, and it's bounced in the Fatherland due to the angle of the armour. I mean, I know it's got 4 less pen, but that's not really going to make that much of a difference, and I'm talking sort of close ranges, so, or fairly close ranges. And it doesn't always happen, but sometimes it does, and then you just have to sort of readjust. But I found that with the Fatherland, with the APCR, the IS-6 just seems to be its nemesis. Trying to get through that, the angled armour of it can be a nightmare sometimes. But enough talking about the Fatherland, we've got that at the end, so let's get back to the Skoda T24 again. And I've popped up here. I was a bit wary at first, possibly, which is why I just poked through these bushes, just to see if there was anything coming around the other way, and there was that little E20, and me and the T28 have managed to take him apart. And now we've got an M7. And I've had the odd lucky bounce off this tank when the upgraded turrets on it. It's a bit stronger, but the armour on the hull is nothing really to write home about. And like I say, I've had the odd lucky bounce off it. Normally when I'm sort of, it's extremely angled and I've been pulling back around a corner and just clip the front, or when I'm pulling back off a ridge. And the angle of the upper plate, the upper places there is a lot more. But unfortunately, my mistake there was knowing RT was zeroing in and not moving. Yes. Very stupid mistake. And yeah, RT punished me for it. Alright, next replay, or next fail. I'm in the WZ-120. Fast becoming one of my favourite medium tanks. It reminds me a lot of, well, I say it reminds me a lot, I've not been in it, but it does remind me a lot of the Soviet mediums, from what I've seen of them, from what I've seen on the battlefield. Quite mobile, fairly decent hull armour, obviously nothing outstanding, it is still a medium after all. Very good turret, but this has a much bigger gun. From what I can remember, in fact, I am going to have to go back and check that actually on the T54, but I'm pretty sure this does have a bigger gun with a lot more damage and quite a lot of pen. I think it's something like 440 damage on this. Something like that anyway. I don't think it's quite as high as 490. That seems a bit high. Although I could be wrong, and this is just from memory, so, you know, it's a rough figure. But I do like this tank, and I'm looking forward to getting the 121, because it's pretty much more of the same, but improved soft stats on the gun. And I think it's got slightly better, definitely slightly better turret armour. I don't know about the hull. But it's an encounter, a tier 10 match. And as you can see, it's on Lakeville. And we're heading towards the town. Now, you don't need many tanks going around the back, usually, in an encounter. You know, going down that sort of swampy valley. And, oh, here we go. 4502B. I was just looking for somewhere to possibly pen it, but nope. And then the M103 comes around the corner. It gives me a big hit. I think, did Artie possibly try and hit me there? So I go round to try and flank them, do a little slide around the corner showing off, and yeah, straight into a Conqueror and a 5120. No, or was it a 50B? I don't know. Not my finest moment anyway. But these things happen, don't they? So now we're in the Tiger 2. Tier 10 match, unfortunately. Not loads of tier 10s, could be a lot worse. I've been in tier 10 matches in this where I think I was the only tier 8. And about half the team, half the rest of the team were tier 9s and the other half tier 10. That was a very unpleasant match. But this one's not too bad. There's still a few tier 8s for me to shoot at, in theory, if it actually went well. Which, because it's in this video, you know it's not going to. So I'm going to go over to the western side. And it did seem like a not bad team spread at first. It kind of looked like there were possibly a couple too many tanks just heading over to that eastern side. You know where they're going. They're going, well, some of them are going up the hill. Usual place for the TDs to go. for the support tanks at the beginning of the match, up that hill over on the western side. And it, you know, I did think maybe a couple of those or one of them could have come this way or more into the middle of the map, but there seemed to be a fairly decent amount of us coming this way that if we play it smart and get in a bit of cover, we should be able to hold off the enemy advance that comes down the western side. Well, that was what was running through my mind anyway. I'm not quite sure what was running through the mind of some of the other people, because as I'm sort of looking at the map and I'm looking at where the tanks are going, and I just position myself here to get a few supporting shots in, and then I see my allied tanks are kind of, well, buggering off, for lack of a better word. They do seem to be heading more towards the middle of the map, as you can see there. And yeah, we've got an Object 140, T-54E1, a couple of other nasty looking tanks coming around there, and I'm pretty much on my own. Kind of exposed. I know I'm behind this house, but I back out a bit, try and side scrape off, and don't do it quite well enough. Did take a bounce there though, adjust my angle slightly. And the reason I did that instead of just turning around and hightailing it back is I had a feeling that as soon as I came out from behind that house I would get spotted. So I thought I'd reverse out, try side scrape, and see if I did. And if I didn't, I would have turned around and legged it and tried to regroup and get in a better position. But as it happened, yeah, I can't. Took a couple of hits, RT hit me. But yeah, they were sort of heading over this way, like I say, the friendly tanks, and then all of a sudden I realised they've gone the other way, and I'm kind of on my own over there. So that was me done, unfortunately. Now, this is the good match. Yeah, here we are. We're through all the fails. So here we are for this one. As you can see, I'm in the Fatherland, red share, and it's a tier 10 match. Now, nothing particularly outstanding in this match, I have to say. From remembering it, you know, sort of when I did the review of this, I got a couple of ace tanker badges. I think one of them might have been a bit of a easy-ish ace tanker. When these tanks first come out, sometimes it can be quite easy to get them. One of them wasn't so easy, you know, it was nearly 2,000 base XP, which is quite nice, and you know, they were quite high damage games as well. Not so much with this one, a bit more of a sort of average damage, etc. for me. But I put it on because it is a tier 10, so I'm bottom tier, and I do alright in it. And it kind of, I don't think I come up against many tier 10s particularly, but it will hopefully give you a bit of an idea of how to play this a bit more when you are bottom tier. Because I know there'll be people out there that have probably managed to get this tank for free that have not been in the IS-3 yet. And, you know, obviously it's fairly different from a lot of the tanks. As a tier 8, it's one of the first you get, I think, with a pike nose, or if not the first with the pike nose, which obviously changes the way you play the tank slightly. You don't angle it, because when you angle it you weaken your front. And like I say, there's probably quite a few of you that have now got this tank that have not played the IS-3 before, but the IS-3 fully upgraded is one of probably the few tanks that I feel can really hold its own in a tier 10 match. And I think the Fatherland can as well, because it's got almost exactly the same armour. It's slightly different on the turret. That was a bit of a rush shot, but although I was slightly disappointed that it dropped quite as much as it did. And, well, that T-54 I think has just seen the other T-54 do exactly what he did and get quite punished for it. So I was quite surprised that he did the same thing. Now that went slightly wide and hit the tracks. Anyway, while I'm trying to deal with the IS-3, see if I can get through his lower glacis there. Yep, there we go. A quick mention to this op. I know I said earlier there's been a few complaints about it. And somebody put in the comments about a few is a bit of an understatement. There's been a shit ton. So, yeah, like I said, I was helping my wife grind out for this tank. Yeah, donk. Nearly missed him. I'm not quite sure what I was doing there. A bit risky, this manoeuvre, but I just saw a bit of red. Did take a hit, But I was trying to get round to this IS-3, and yeah, that was a bit of a derpy manoeuvre, but it worked. That was more luck than anything else. But we did manage to take out the IS-3, and the Motherland's gone away without a scratch. Anyway, yeah, helping my wife grind out for this tank, for the op. And I know they said that before the op came on that it was going to be, you know, either XP, crew XP or silver, or a medal. And, you know, they didn't say, you know, what it was, and when it came on, it turned out there were 10 items including the medal. Now, I am assuming, and I could be wrong on this, but I am assuming that it was an even chance for each item, so a 10% chance for each one. So in theory, every 10 matches where you did 500 damage in a Soviet vehicle and got a drop, one of those 10 should have got you a medal. That really did not seem to be the case. And yeah, my wife got very frustrated a couple of times where she'd had quite a few drops and still no medal. But luckily she did manage to do it yesterday. I know there's been a lot of you out there that have sort of experienced the same thing. You can get drop after drop after drop and still, you know, no medal. So I'm not sure entirely what the chances were or sort of what happened with that. And another thing as well, I mean, I can kind of see why Wargaming did it this way, because one of the things that we often hear when these ops come on is people complaining about how people almost just turn into idiots and just do really silly things just to try and get whatever it is that the op requires. And we've seen it before. I mean, there was it one of the monster tanks we had to get kills, and kill stealing was horrific. And you know, it doesn't normally bother me, like I say, it's, you know, you get more points for damaging them than you do for just taking off the last little tiny bit of health and killing them. But obviously when people are trying to do that op as well and people keep kill stealing you, yeah, that got frustrating. And yeah, I just couldn't quite hit that IS-7 there. Well, I did, but I bounced. Anyway, sorry. And I kind of see why they did it with this one. You know, you go in a Soviet vehicle, you get 500 points of damage, and it was, well, I think it was to try and encourage people to just play the game normally, because that's all you had to do, really. Go in a Soviet vehicle and just play the game as you normally would. And chances are you're probably going to do the 500 points of damage and get a drop. But I don't know about anybody else out there. I've seen some... When the op first came on, I saw some really quite dodgy behaviour, you know. Just people in Soviet tanks just YOLOing into a group of enemies, just firing rounds off, hoping to get the 500 damage done, dying, and then I'm assuming just jumping in another one and repeating. And yeah, I did see a bit of that happening in the early part of the op, not so much in the later part of the op though. But, you know, like I said, I can see why Wargaming did it that way, to try and encourage just normal gameplay. And I think it worked to an extent. But like I say, I know a lot of you weren't happy with the sort of how the drops were working out, because you were getting a lot of drops with no medal. But hopefully you'll have got it. You know, wish you luck. And if you haven't got it, I think you've still got a few hours. So good luck to you, and I hope you manage to unlock it. There you go. Nice, decent match. Don't get too excited over the scores there. 100,000 was from the Fatherland Ace op. I did finish it off, and the 10,000 XP. That's what I was on about with the daily double, plus the 4 times Fatherland XP on the first win, and the ×2 for just playing in the Fatherland itself. And I don't know if you get that ×4 and ×2 when you unlock the tank, or whether it's just when you buy it. But yeah, it was fantastic for training that crew up. Well, there you go. Managed to come top of the table in a tier 10 match. Didn't do a great amount of damage, but that's kind of how you want to play it in a tier 10, cautiously, but it can still hold its own. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed tonight's video. I'll be back tomorrow with another one for you. And until then, take care out there, and I will catch you next time. See you later.